Is there any? Nope. Nope. Oh! Is there anything? Is there anything now? Anything at all? I think I got it. Is it on? Is it on? Ah! Tell me it's on! DK! Yes! Good! Son of a bitch! So my entire everything is freaking nothing is up in the other room, and I'm sideways, so I need to. All right, so I need to. Okay, that was my brother's. Okay, this is very important. I am so sorry that everything got screwy. I just, DK, Risky, thank you for being here. Oh, man. Okay, so this is big, and I just want to, let me see. Here he is, right here. All right. I'm getting right into this. Just give me a. Ah! Of course. What in the crap is going on now? Can you tell me if... you know what? I'm going to look. I hate this. It's completely ridiculous now because of having to use my old setup. I'm gonna look on my live. I'm gonna look like right now. Live. What the crap? Hold on. This sucks. Right, now I can tell. Yes! Good. Okay. Plus, now I need to make sure that...
If you've been paying any attention at all, and maybe even if you haven't been, you may...
There's no sound. Why is there no sound? Hang on. Come on, dude. Penny in the house. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. Mommy's live, so I gotta go back over there. Good job in the house. Good job in the house. Okay, please pardon. Please pardon. Speakers. Realtek audio is what it's supposed to be. System. Sound. Let me check.
Sense that there's something...
Yes! Fucking finally. All right. All right. Here we are.
Profoundly wrong with the U.S. military, the most respected institution in American life. It's corrupt. It's inefficient. It may, in fact, be a danger to our country. And by the way, it hasn't won a major war in over 80 years. The problem is not the people who serve in the military, it's the people who lead it. Some of the worst people.
Is there an echo? Because I've got the speakers playing. Let me know if there's an echo, DK, if you're still here. I can't switch because the display capture will do that wonky thing again. And Ugh, I need to change. I need to fix something. Hold on. This is driving me nuts. I need to make me smaller. All right, I'm restarting it.
Country. If you've been paying any attention at all, and maybe even if you haven't been, you may sense that there's something profoundly wrong with the U.S. military, the most respected institution in American life. It's corrupt. It's inefficient. It may, in fact, be a danger to our country. And by the way, it hasn't won a major war in over 80 years. The problem is not the people who serve in the military, it's the people who lead it. Some of the worst people in the country in charge of some of the best. If you sense all of that is true, it's just been confirmed. On New Year's Day, a group of over 200 active and retired military personnel released a document called the Declaration of Military Accountability.
I am pissed that I didn't know about this until an hour and a half ago. January 1st. It's fucking February 28th.
And the point was to inform the rest of us that the U.S. military is in fact being destroyed by the people who run it and is in fact a threat to the nation. Here's a portion of the letter. Quote, "We hereby apprise the American people that we have exhausted all internal efforts to rectify recent criminal activity within the armed forces."
That is that is such a military member written.
While implementing the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, military leaders broke the law, trampled constitutional rights, denied informed consent, permitted unwilling medical experimentation, and suppressed the free exercise of religion. Service members and families...
Hang on. I would say that they perpetrated unwilling medical experimentation. That's just what I would write.
...were significantly harmed by these actions. Their suffering continues to be felt financially, emotionally, and physically. These leaders refuse to resign or take any other action to hold themselves accountable, nor have they attempted to repair the harm their policies and actions have caused. Since there is yet to be any accountability, the undersigned give our word to do everything morally permissible and legally possible to hold our own leadership accountable. Now, the whole letter is well worth reading. It's available online. In the meantime, Brad Miller is the veteran who organized it, and he joins us now. Mr. Miller, thank you very much for coming on. You get the sense as you read this...
Well, thank you so much, Tucker, for having me here.
Oh, it's our pleasure, because it's worth getting a window into what's actually happening in this multi-million person community we call the armed services that most Americans really don't have any visibility into. But you get the sense as you read this letter that it was a last-ditch effort on your part. Is that right?
Yeah, I think to some degree it is. When you read the way that we wrote this, what we are looking at is this mandate, which we absolutely claim was unlawful, was put into effect nearly 2.5 years ago. Now, technically it was rescinded at the very beginning of 2023 because of the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act, but it went into effect 2.5 years ago, or almost 2.5 years ago. It was clearly unlawful, and we have yet to have any senior leaders within the military come out and acknowledge what has happened or acknowledge the constitutionally protected rights that were curtailed or the way in which people faced unlawful coercion to have this mandate go into effect.
So, I mean, you're saying a bunch of things here. You're saying by implication that the people who put this into effect didn't care about military readiness. They didn't care about the lives of the personnel they lead or in charge of. You're also saying that they're resistant to civilian control.
Yes. That's certainly what it looks like, and when you look at what we wrote, and I'm just one of a core group of co-organizers that put this together, I would say the initial draft came from a gentleman named Rob Green, who is currently serving in the Navy. And I would tell you probably the most heroic person still in uniform right now. In fact, he wrote a book that was appropriately released on July 4th, 2023, with his name on the book as a currently serving naval officer, in which he detailed the plight that the service member has been enduring over the last couple of years because of these unlawful actions. And we have waited for senior leaders to come to their senses, walk this back, acknowledge the harms that they have unlawfully inflicted upon not just the service member, but their families and by extension, the American public. And that has not happened. And I'm just going to tell you, Tucker, I'm a jovial guy. I like to laugh. My favorite type of movies are comedies, but it's time for serious people to get serious about serious matters.
Facts.
And so when you keep going, when you receive what you know as an unlawful order in the military, what do? You go to your superior. You tell your superior this is unlawful. If your superior does not relent or rescind the order, what do? You go to your next higher superior, and then you go to your next higher superior. Well, what happens when they're all in on this? Well, eventually you have to say, you know what? We live in a republic. We're going to pledge to the American people that we are no longer going to stand by and let what appears to be some sort of cartel that has infiltrated and overtaken our most precious institution. We're not going to stand by and allow that to happen any longer. I feel like we've been very patient. It's been 2.5 years, and while technically the mandate itself has been rescinded, what has not happened is an acknowledgement that people were unlawfully harmed and a full attempt to try and restore as much as possible those who were harmed by those actions.
This seems of a piece, though. It's not happening in isolation. I mean, no one in military command was punished for the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. The only person who was punished was a Marine officer who said it was a disaster. The military has become aggressively anti-white in a country where white people have manned the military for 250 years. It's majority white, and they're against white people. The military has also made sort of threatening noises toward the population. I mean, it's a politicized force now. So what do you do about that?
Yeah, well, the truth is there are no easy answers. There are also no risk-free options. Now, anybody who is honest and loves their country, if you read our document, it is very clear. I mean, every word in that one-page document is meticulously calculated. We know exactly what we are communicating and exactly what we are not communicating. Anyone who is honest and loves their country knows that we are in no way calling for some sort of circumvention of the Constitution, suspension of the laws, or anything of the type. What we are actually saying is senior leaders in the Pentagon have willfully violated their oaths to the Constitution, have broken laws, and are violating the military's own clear framework of regulations. All we're asking is for those mechanisms that have been in place and that work, if they're allowed to work, all we're asking is for them to work.
At the core of this is funding. So you have the U.S. Congress continuing to send, hundreds of billions of dollars to the U.S. military every year, and no elected representative is seriously talking about stopping that until people are held accountable. So how do you apply pressure to the Congress to hold the Pentagon to account?
And again, we have to appeal to the people. So you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, Tucker, that it's bigger than just the unlawful COVID-19 injection mandate. And that is true. And we understand that. And while our document is focused specifically on that because it was just so clearly and unequivocally unlawful, we acknowledge that there are bigger problems. You mentioned what happened with the withdrawal from Afghanistan a couple of years ago. There's also the rampant problems down at the border. There are also the woke problems within the military. It's much bigger than just this one issue. Now, we have decided to focus on this issue because we do believe that even if somehow you were able to fix those other problems, if you did not fix this problem, then you're not going to have a healthy military. Now, the reality is all of these are interrelated. And so by repairing some of the damage and acknowledging what has happened with this, you will address some of the other problems. Because here's the deal. People can accuse us of some sort of extreme iconoclasm or whatever, but that is just not true. We are in full support of the Constitution. We're in full support of the American flag. We're not trying to tear down any institutions whatsoever. What we are trying to do is say there are people at the top that are running this thing into the ground. And if crimes have been committed, and we claim that there have been crimes that have been committed, there has to be accountability. If we don't have any accountability, how can we ever ensure that these types of things don't happen again?
Well, and that they don't accelerate. I mean, are you concerned the military could be a threat to the country?
Let me look at it this way. If you ask me if the United States military could turn on the populace, I don't necessarily have a question or an answer for that question. But here's what I will tell you, Tucker. Let's change the question a little bit. Is it far more likely that the military would turn to some degree on the American public now than it would have 2, 3, 4 years ago? I think we have our answer. So here's the problem. The military is moving in the wrong direction. And the problem is not the institution itself. It's some of the leaders that frankly just need to be held accountable for their actions.
Right.
And if that were to happen, now we're going to need some sweeping changes and we're going to need some sweeping reprioritizations. But if the right people were to be in the right positions in the institution, we could turn things around. Now, again, I would say that the fixes are simple. They are not easy. You mentioned some of the problems that we've had with Congress. So again, the Department of Defense does not exist in isolation, and we understand that. But what we do need is we live in a republic. What does that mean? That means if you're a citizen in a republic, yes, you enjoy a lot of rights, but you also have a lot of responsibilities. What we want people to do is we want people to get engaged. If you feel that something is massively wrong in this country, and people who are honest with themselves do, and a lot of people also say they feel like 2024 is going to be a pivotal year, maybe for good reasons, maybe for bad reasons, maybe some of both, but everyone knows 2024 is going to be a pivotal year. I don't know how much more time we have. We have people who say to us, hey, you got to pick and choose your battles. Well, it's time to pick and choose some battles. And again, I don't mean violently at all, but people have to get engaged.
Well, they're the ones who, of course, specialize in violence. I mean, you have to notice that, the military had no problem showing up in Washington 3 years ago and pointing guns at Trump supporters, which they did, but they refused to protect our border from the foreign invasion now in progress. And now Dick Durbin, a Democratic senator from Illinois, gives a speech in the Senate saying that we need to populate the U.S. military with the young male illegal aliens invading our country. I don't think you need to be a conspiracy nut to ask, what is this? It seems like the U.S. military is being used as a tool of the people in charge to oppress the American population. I don't know how I'm misreading this.
You mentioned violence a couple of minutes ago, Tucker. Let's talk about the cold, hard reality. The United States military exists for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to execute violence on behalf of the American people. Right. What happens when the military has violated the trust of the American people to such a degree that the American people no longer has confidence that the military can do so morally, ethically, and lawfully? Because that's where we are.
I think that's exactly right. So last question. So you released this letter on New Year's Day. What has the response been?
Well, I would tell you, from the people, incredible. So the way that we rolled this out is that at 4 a.m. Eastern time, 4 a.m. on January 1st Eastern time, I sent an email to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs directly, along with 17 other senior military officials that largely are the Joint Chiefs, the Inspectors General, and the Surgeons General. So the military leadership. And I attached our document, which is known as the Declaration of Military Accountability, and I let them know this is a pledge to the American people that we are no longer going to stand by and let you continue to break the law, willfully violate your oath to the Constitution. We pledge to the American public we're not going to stand by and allow that to happen. And I informed them that this document was about to hit the streets, as it were. As soon as I hit send on that email, I then turned around and I put out a post on X with a screenshot of the body of the document. Within a week, that post on X had 4 million views. So more directly to answer your question, the reception from the American public has been astounding. And people have been begging us to tell them how to get involved. So we very quickly threw together a website. That website is militaryaccountability.com. If you go to militaryaccountability.com, you will see the declaration that we wrote. You will see the names of the 231 signatories that very courageously put their names to the document. But perhaps most importantly, you will find an associated petition that anyone and everyone can sign. And so we ask Americans, if you're looking for how to get involved, go to militaryaccountability.com, sign the petition, and then lean heavily on not just your friends and your family, but also your elected representatives, and ask them directly what they are doing to support the military. And when you ask them what they are doing to support the military, it's not to support these wayward leaders. And I use the term leaders very, very loosely. It's what are you doing to support those within the military that are actually trying to faithfully serve the American public by upholding the oaths that they took to the Constitution.
Exactly. Before they start handing rifles out to the invaders who are coming in right now. I think this is a pressing problem, and I appreciate everything you're doing on it. Mr. Miller, thank you.
So, Let me. It's so weird not having a. Ugh, good grief. It's so weird not having my main setup. Same DK, but you already knew that. And I'm showing you this because what the frick? I have to use the camera that's on the laptop. You okay? Got Mr. Ducko over here. So next, I want to show you the. Well, here's information about Lieutenant Colonel Miller. Let me go back to. Please forgive me for the freaking. What do you call that? Craziness right there. What was that movie that Leonardo DiCaprio was in? All right, so this guy is a lieutenant colonel, was a lieutenant colonel. He got out and was a battalion commander in the 101st Airborne. And he was stuck with that damn mandate. Miller refused the vaccine and was subsequently relieved of command. Go figure. He basically resigned from the Army after it published a directive in 2022 stating it would separate unvaccinated soldiers. Now, here's the thing. He was 19 years, 3 months, 15 days of service. He still considers it a no-brainer to refuse the COVID shot. So here's the thing, though. Brain fart. So here's the thing. He lost his command, his career, and his retirement. He was a battalion commander who was relieved of command, placed in a position where he had to resign so he could no longer couldn't go further in his military career, and because he didn't make it to 20 years, he lost his retirement pension. So here's the thing. From this was basically, this is all about him. Threw away his pension for his ideals. So that's about him. This is the declaration, but there's something I want to say ahead of time, that even though this thing that frickin' Austin put out and then rescinded it, just because he rescinded it does not mean that it was not continually done as if nothing had happened. Nothing got rescinded. Everyone still, because I know how the military works, and I spoke to a few active duty. The military is able to sneak shit in and get shit done with whatever wording they can come up with. Duke. Hey. Hey, you alright? Okay. There's a weird noise. Anyway, they're able to do shit that they shouldn't be able to do. These leaders, it's insane what they can still do, even though the leaders in the Pentagon stated that it was rescinded. It's still being forced, and people are still being penalized even though it was rescinded. They get penalized from hold on, sorry. I need to make sure that I'm not messing up here. I gotta keep the It's the only way I can see what I'm doing because the laptop is screwed up. Okay. It's the only way for me to make sure that... Okay. All right. I apologize. The military is able to stick it to you, basically. They can still stick it to you, even though this has been rescinded. Anything from the smallest thing, they can put you on for enlisted, lower enlisted. They can put you on the cleanup detail where you have to go outside and pick up cigarette butts outside a dorm. And you don't live in said dorm. Stuff like that. I mean, we're talking anything they can do, they will do. They will do it. So, I'm hoping that y'all can see this. It looks like it's big enough. An open letter to the American people from signatories of this Declaration of Military Accountability. I wish I knew about this when it happened. I can't believe it. It dropped 1 January. It's the 28th and still nothing. So I'm going to go down here to standing upon our natural and constitutional rights, we hereby apprise the American people that we have exhausted all internal efforts to rectify the recent criminal activity within the armed forces. In the Declaration of Independence, our founding fathers sought separation. We seek no separation, but through this letter and the efforts we pledge within herein, we pursue restoration through accountability. We intend to rebuild trust and restore the rule of law, particularly within the armed forces. Ultimately, we strive to once again become a moral people, restoring our nation and making it again worthy of the great gift of liberty won by the colonial era American people. Blech. I'm reading this because I'm pretty sure that there's one person out there that's driving that's listening. So while implementing the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, military leaders broke the law, trampled constitutional rights, denied informed consent, permitted unwilling, and I still think perpetrated unwilling medical experimentation, and suppressed the free exercise of religion. Service members and families were significantly harmed by these actions. Their suffering continues to be felt financially, emotionally, and physically. Some service members became part of our ever-growing veteran homeless population. Some developed debilitating vaccine injuries, which we all know that those exist. I'm also watching this to see if Facebook smacks me down. You okay over there? Good girl. Some even lost their lives. In an apparent attempt to avoid accountability, military leaders are continuing to ignore our communications regarding these injuries and the laws that were broken. All of these listed are all highest level military leadership. All of those people listed, these individuals enabled lawlessness and the unwilling experimentation on service members. The moral and physical injuries that they helped inflict are significant. They betrayed the trust of service members and the American people. Their actions caused irreparable harm to the armed forces and the institutions for which we have fought and bled. Just bam. These leaders refuse to resign or take any other action to hold themselves accountable, nor have they attempted to repair the harm their policies and actions have caused. Since there is yet to be any accountability, the undersigned give our word to do everything morally permissible and legally possible to hold our own leadership accountable. We intend to rebuild trust by demonstrating that leaders cannot cast aside constitutional rights or the law for political expediency. I am so fucking yes! The flag and general officers are far from the only ones complicit in recent illegal activities, of which we all now know quite a bit. As a significant number of SES leaders and political appointees contributed, evidence indicates that other executive agencies are engaging in illegal activity. However, as service members and veterans, we feel particularly responsible for the DoD, and in accordance with our oaths, we will make every effort to demonstrate by example how an institution can put its own house in order. Outstanding. We, the undersigned, on behalf of hundreds of thousands of service members and the American people, while appealing to the supreme judge of the world for guidance and purity of intention, mutually pledged each other that we will do everything in our power through lawful word and action to hold accountable military leaders who failed to follow the law when their leadership and moral courage was most desperately needed. I love this. Fucking A, I love this. In the coming years, thousands within our network will run for Congress and seek appointments to executive branch offices, while those of us still serving on active duty will continue to put fulfilling our oaths ahead of striving for rank or position. For those who achieve the lawful authority to do so, we pledge to recall from retirement the military leaders who broke the law and will convene courts martial for the crimes they committed. For those of us who attain legislative offices, we pledge to introduce legislation to remove all retirement income for the military leaders who were criminally complicit, and we will ensure none serve in or retire from the senior executive service. This endeavor will be a continuous process with a long-term time horizon. But fulfilling our oaths to defend the Constitution requires just such persistent vigilance. Likewise, we are obligated and so commit to train those who come after us to fulfill their duty in achieving this accountability and safeguarding against such leadership failures hereafter. Our nation was once great because it was good. It was built on moral principles founded in natural law, and yet the recent acceleration of moral relativism has us headed towards a precipitous implosion. While all good things come to an end, we refuse to allow our nation to go quietly into the depths of decadence and decay. We promise to exhaust all moral, ethical, and legal means to restore the rule of law, and will begin by attempting to hold senior military leaders accountable. The Constitution is the supreme law of our land. We will fight to enforce that law and put an end to the two-tiered justice system. May future generations see our efforts, and, God willing, may they also be recipients of the great gift of liberty that we have had the honor of safeguarding. You guys, the power in that freaking, holy cow. Yes, DK, absolutely 100% against all enemies, foreign and domestic. 100%. There is now here is the webpage, and here are all the names. All of them. Now, there's a petition, and it's up here at the top. So far, it's got 27,000 signatures. I am signing this. And I'm going to do what I can to get this because of all of the military installations in this city alone, I am going to do what I can to just get this out. Somehow, some way, get this out in this city. I mean, I'll even put a thing on my truck. I don't drive around that much, but I'll make a special trip to drive around in the city so people see it and go and look and go and see, because this is amazing. And I am so glad. God bless Colonel Miller. God bless him. God bless all of this, all of the signatories on here. All of them. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. But I just... So, I'm sure y'all can see this, but for someone who's driving, on 1 January 2024, a group of 231 service members and veterans ignited a new spark of liberty through a declaration of military accountability. Fuck yes. In this declaration, the signers pledged to hold military leadership accountable for their violations of the law and constitutional rights over the last several years. This petition intends to kindle that spark of liberty into a massive flame. Fuck yes. To that end, we hereby pledge our support for the Declaration of Military Accountability and intend to expand this pledge to include holding accountable all those in government authority who have abused their positions in unlawful and corrupt ways. Yes! We, the people, are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As the Declaration of Independence notes, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We no longer consent to be governed by those who use their positions to enrich themselves and who pursue un-American agendas at the expense of the governed. It is our birthright, therefore, as Americans, to demand and enact the changes we require in the government of our nation. In the spirit of our founding fathers and following the example set by the Declaration of Military Accountability, the signers of this petition pledge to hold our leaders accountable and remove those in each of the 3 branches of government who have broken our laws, trampled our rights, and denied our ability to live in freedom. Wow. Yep, here's the petition. And here's here's that 27,000. I wish it was 276. But we got to do it. So the website, hopefully y'all can see it, is militaryaccountability.net. And if you can, in any way you can, please get this out. Get this out. This needs to be seen. I'm not getting the words for how important this is. How vital it is that this is seen by as many people as possible. As many as possible. God bless you, Colonel Miller. That was a lot of reading. Whoops. Sorry. That was a lot of reading. Y'all. That I don't care that it was a lot of reading. I was surprised I didn't have more hiccups than I did when I was reading it. That was God right there. That's why I was able to get through and read that so clearly. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic, we have to get this information out as far and as wide as we can. So please, if you could, anybody that's reading this, anybody that's watching this, if you can. If you don't want to share the video, I understand. I will. I will do that, DK, in the Discord. As a matter of fact, I'll do it right now. I'll put it in yours. Hold on. Oops, wrong one. No, general chat. Okay. Oops, hold on. I want to make sure I spell everything correctly. I got it right. Okay. I'm going to do what I can to get this out. It's all I can do. It's what I started this channel for, so that I could get information out there. And this information is huge, and it's way bigger than me or any other channel at all. Like even Mr. Beast bigger than that. All I can do is ask you to please, if you could, spread this information as far as you can. And then on top of that, I'm going to put that, I want to put it in the comments here too. Military. I'm going to put it in the comments too, that way. It can... All right. This is Cherry the Air Force vet. And I haven't felt this much of a need to do something. That's what purpose and meaning. Everybody needs purpose and meaning in their life. And y'all know about my frustrations with how I can't really do much except my channel, and it feels like it's just so small. Even though, thank you, Jesus, and thank you, Ground Crew, 685 subscribers. You guys are frigging amazing. And I love you guys. So please, if you could, either share the video or share militaryaccountability.net and just share that everywhere you can, in any way you can. Over the airwaves, over the internet, any and every way that you can. I have such a fire right now to do something, and this is the do something. I love you guys. Ground Crew, you are the friggin' best, and thank you for bearing with me with the start of this, and I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Today's Wednesday, right? Had to check. Retirement brain, dude. It sucks.